Math Blast Week 9, Place Value Relations. Write the value of the 3 in each number. Here I'm taking a look at the bold 3 in the number. I notice that it is 2 places to the right of the decimal. Let's review place value to the right of the decimal. I have the tenths and the hundredths. So the 3 in the hundredths place has a value of 3 hundredths. Here, my 3 is 1 place to the right of the decimal, which means it is in the tenths place, and a 3 in the tenths place has a value of 3 tenths. Compare the value of the 5 in each number. Here I am looking at the underlined 5s. So in this number, my 5 is 1 place to the right of the decimal. It has a value of 5 tenths. Here, my 5 is 2 places to the left of the decimal. To the left of the decimal, I have the 1s and the 10s. So it is worth 5 tens, which has a value of 50. Notice I'm being asked to compare. So 5 tenths I know is less than 50. I also know that when I have a 5 sitting in the tenths place, let's look at this on a place value chart. I have the tenths, the 1s, and the 10s. Here I have 5 tenths, and here I have 50. This 5 in the tenths place is 1/10 times as much as a 5 that would be sitting to the place to the left of it. So this is 1/10 times another 1/10. I've moved my 5 or shifted my 5 on the place value chart 2 times to the left. 1/10 times another 1/10 is 1/100th. So 5 tenths is 1/100th times as much as 50. Or 50 is 100 times as much as 5 tenths. Comparing decimal numbers. Use the correct relational symbol to make each sentence true. What's very important here when I'm comparing numbers is to remember that we must compare place value to place value. Here, I'm comparing hundreds, same digit in the hundreds place. I have the same digit in the tens place. I have the same digit in the ones place. It's not until I get to the tenths place here where I have a different digit in my 2 numbers. So I can compare the 6 tenths to the 3 tenths. And since 6 tenths is larger or greater than 3 tenths, 346 and 64 hundredths is greater than 346 and 389 hundredths. Here I have 537 tenths. I'm going to rewrite that in standard form. I know I need my 537 to end in the tenths place, which is 1 place to the right of the decimal. Therefore, that is equivalent to 53 and 7 tenths. Here again, I'm going to write in standard form 932 hundredths. I want my 932 to end in the hundredths place, which is 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So 9 and 32 hundredths is the same as 932 hundredths. Now, it's super important once again to compare place value to place value. I am not comparing the 5 in the tens place to the 9 that's in my ones place. I'm comparing the 5 in the tens place here to nothing. So 53 and 7 tenths is greater than 9 and 32 hundredths. Here I'm given expanded notation. I'm going to rewrite it in standard form. 9 times 100 is 900, 3 times 10 is 30, and 8 times a tenth is 8 tenths. When I put this together, I get 930 and 8 tenths. Again, 9 times 100 is 900, 3 times 1 is 3, and 5 times 1/10 is 5 tenths. When I put that all together, I get 903 and 5/10. Notice I have a 9 in my hundreds place for both numbers. I have a 3 in my tens versus a 0 in my tens. Since 3 is greater than 0, the 930 and 8/10 is greater than 903 and 5/10. Here we are rounding. Round to the nearest thousands place. When I'm rounding, I'm going to use my vertical number line, and since I'm rounding to the nearest thousands place, I'm going to go to the thousands place here and determine how many total thousands make up my number right now. I have 47 thousands. If I add 1,000, I would be at 48,000. Now what's super important when we're rounding is to be able to identify that midpoint. In between 47,000 and 48,000 is 47,500. 500 is half of another 1,000 that we added on here. So that's our midpoint. Now I want to place my number here on this vertical number line. And I know that it's going to be a little above this midpoint here. We're going to say this is 47,651 and 75 thousandths or hundredths. Since my number is at or above the midpoint, it will round up to 48,000. Any number that was below the midpoint would round down. This time I'm rounding to the nearest ones place. So I'm going to go all the way out to the ones and determine how many ones make up my number now. I'm at 47,651. If I add another 1, my number would be 47,652. Now again, determining that midpoint, what's right in between 47,651 and 47,652 is 47,651 and half of another 1, which is 5/10. Locating my number on that number line, right here above the midpoint, I would have my 47,651 and 75 hundredths. And since it is above the midpoint, it will round up to 47,652. And lastly, I need to round to the tenths. So I'm going to go all the way out to the tenths this time and determine how many tenths make up my number now. I have 47,651 and 7/10. If I add a tenth, it would be at 47,651 and 8/10. The midpoint is my 47,651 and 7/10, and half of another tenth is 5 hundredths. So when I locate my number on my vertical number line here, I notice it falls right at the midpoint. And once again, anything that falls at or above the midpoint will round up, while numbers that fall below the midpoint round down. So my number to the nearest tenth will be 47,651 and 8/10. Patterns for powers of 10. Find the value of n in each number sentence. Show how you know. Here I have 39 times 10 to the n power equals 3,900. I'm going to write my 39 on the place value chart here. I know I have 3 10s and 9 1s. And the result, when I multiply by powers of 10, will end up as 3,900. So I 3,000s, 900s, 0 10s, and 0 1s. Now to figure out what power of 10 I multiplied by, I can look at how many times my 3 here shifted on the place value chart. It shifted 1, 2 times to the left. So we multiplied by 10 and by another 10. So 10 to the second power. Notice the 9 shifts 2 times as well. So each digit in 39 shifts 2 times to the left to give us 3,900, which means that we multiplied by 10 to the second power, or 100. Here I have 39 hundredths. And I'm going to multiply by 10 to the 5th power. This time we need to figure out what the number is once we multiply by 10 to the 5th power. Multiplying by 10 to the 5th power means that each of my digits just shifts 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to the left on the place value chart. The 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and we will plug in zeros to hold our places here. So 39,000 is what n is equal to. Adding decimals and subtracting decimals. 23 4/10 plus 3 9/10. Now what's important when I'm adding and subtracting decimals is just to keep in mind that I must add and subtract place value to place value. So here I'm going to write my 23, let's go 23 4/10. And I want to add 3 9/10. Now keep in mind this 3 is a 1, so I do not want to put it with my 10's place value. I want to put it here with my 1's. And the 9 is a 10ths digit. So now I can add place value to place value. 9 plus 4 is 13. I'm going to bundle 10 of these tenths and make a 1. And 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. And 2 tens and no tens is 2 tens. Don't forget our decimal. And so the sum is 27 3/10. In this case, I'm subtracting. So I'm going to take 45 and I'm going to subtract 3 5/100. Now again, I want to make sure that I don't put my 3 under the 4 here because this 4 is representing tens and the 3 is actually representing ones. So it needs to go in the ones column. 0/10 and 5/100. And so when I'm subtracting, I can think of this tenths and hundredths place as holding zeros there. Now I have 0 hundredths, so I can't take 5/100 away from that. I'm going to have to come over and I'm going to have to regroup or borrow, but there's none here. So I'll come over to the 5, I'll get one of these ones and I will unbundle to make 10 tenths. Now I can borrow one of these tenths and unbundle it to make 10 hundredths. And so 5 from 10 is 5, 0 from 9 is 9, 3 from 4 is 1, and nothing from 4 is 4. Don't forget the decimal. And our difference, the answer to a subtraction problem, is the difference. In this case, is 41 95/100.